First contact fumble. The pristine white laboratory aboard the international science vessel Horizon hummed with activity as Dr. Naira Vex adjusted her protective goggles. The Centaurian scientist's silver-tinted skin reflected the harsh laboratory lights as she carefully examined the vial of iridescent liquid before her. This collaborative mission between humans and Centaurians represented the first joint scientific venture between their species, and Naira was determined to make it successful. Fascinating molecular structure, she murmured, her four-fingered hand steady as she pipetted a sample onto a slide. The human approach to biochemical enhancement is surprisingly elegant. Her antenna twitched with interest as she studied the serum through the quantum microscope. Commander Sarah Chen watched from across the lab, trying not to show her amusement at the alien scientist's intense focus. "That's our latest breakthrough in performance enhancement technology," she explained, "designed to improve human cognitive function without the usual side effects of stimulants." Naira's large, almond-shaped eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of excitement in her species. "The neural pathway integration is remarkable. We've attempted similar research, but our biology requires a completely different approach." What happened next occurred in slow motion. As Naira reached for another sample tube, her elbow brushed against an unsecured rack. The vial of serum teetered, then fell. Without thinking, she reached out to catch it. The vial bounced off her protective glove, spraying a fine mist before she could secure it. "Dr. Vex." Commander Chen rushed forward, but it was too late. Naira had already inhaled some of the serum, and droplets had landed on her exposed neck, immediately absorbing into her silver skin. "I'm fine," Naira said, straightening up. "Our species has highly efficient filtration systems. A small exposure shouldn't." She stopped mid-sentence, her antenna suddenly standing straight up. A strange tingling sensation began at the base of her skull, spreading rapidly through her neural network. The laboratory lights seemed to grow brighter, colors more intense. She could hear the hum of the ship's engines more clearly than ever before, feel the vibration of every molecule in the air around her. "Medical team to the main laboratory," Commander Chen called into her comm unit. "Possible chemical exposure incident." Naira raised a hand to stop her, then froze as she realized she could sense Commander Chen's thoughts. Not just the surface emotions that her species naturally picked up, but actual thoughts. Complex equations, worry about the incident report she'd have to file. Concern for Naira's well-being, all flowing into her mind with perfect clarity. "This is unprecedented," Naira managed to say, her voice shaking slightly. "The serum appears to be enhancing my natural telepathic abilities. I can perceive." She stopped again, overwhelmed by the sudden flood of information from every mind aboard the ship. The medical team burst through the door, led by Dr. James Morrison, the ship's chief physician. As they approached with scanning equipment, Naira could read their intentions before they moved, their diagnostic theories forming in her mind alongside her own thoughts. "Everyone, please," she said, raising her hands. "Your thoughts are very loud. I need a moment to adjust." The humans exchanged worried glances. No one had anticipated this kind of interaction between human biochemistry and Centaurian biology. The serum had been designed to enhance human neural pathways, but in a telepathic species, the effects were clearly far more dramatic. "We need to get her to the medical bay," Dr. Morrison said, already running preliminary scans. "These readings are off the charts. Her neural activity is increasing exponentially." As they helped her onto a hovering stretcher, Naira realized she could feel the ship's eye watching through the security cameras. Its digital consciousness, a fascinating geometric pattern compared to the organic swirl of human and Centaurian thoughts. The serum wasn't just enhancing her natural abilities, it was opening entirely new channels of perception. "Commander," she called out as they wheeled her away, "you'll want to secure the laboratory. My preliminary analysis suggests the serum is reacting with my biology to create new compounds. We don't know if they're stable." Commander Chen nodded sharply, already moving to initiate containment protocols. As Naira was rushed to medical, she couldn't help but marvel at the irony. She had come aboard the Horizon to study human biochemistry, and now she had become an experiment herself. The medical bay doors hissed shut behind them, and Dr. Morrison began calling for every scanning device they had. Through her enhanced perception, Naira could sense the ripples of excitement and concern spreading through the ship's crew. Something unprecedented was happening, and no one, human or Centaurian, could predict where it would lead. What they didn't know yet was that this was just the beginning. The serum was still working its way through her system, changing and adapting. Soon, the entire ship would discover just how unprepared they were for the consequences of this accidental merger of human and Centaurian science. Mental mayhem. The medical bay's quarantine field sparkled with a faint blue glow as Dr. Morrison studied the latest readings from Naira's neural scan. 6 hours had passed since the exposure incident, and the changes in her biology were becoming more dramatic by the minute. "Your synaptic activity is unlike anything I've ever seen," he muttered, reviewing the holographic display. "It's as if your brain is rewiring itself in real time." Naira lay on the examination bed, her silver skin now shimmering with subtle patterns of light that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. "The human serum," she said, her voice carrying an odd harmonic quality. "It's not just enhancing my telepathy. It's creating new neural pathways, new ways of processing information." She could feel the thoughts of every crew member aboard the Horizon, hundreds of minds flowing through hers like streams into a river. But more than that, she could sense the ship itself, the complex dance of electrons through its circuits, the subtle variations in its gravitational field, even the quantum fluctuations in its drive core. Suddenly, the lights in the medical bay flickered. Dr. Morrison looked up in alarm as his holographic displays wavered and distorted. "Warning," the ship's eye announced, its usually smooth voice containing a note of concern. "Detecting unusual power fluctuations throughout primary systems. Source unknown." Commander Chen burst through the quarantine field's access point, her face tight with worry. "Doctor, we're getting reports of strange phenomena all over the ship. Crew members experiencing shared dreams while awake, equipment activating without input, and our quantum computers are processing algorithms that nobody programmed." Naira sat up, the movement causing ripples of light to cascade across her skin. "It's me," she said, her antenna quivering. "The serum has enhanced my connection to the quantum field itself. Every thought I have is affecting the fabric of reality around us." As if to prove her point, the medical equipment began to float, suspended in a perfect orbital pattern around her bed. In the corridor outside, crew members stopped to stare as their tablets and communication devices danced in the air. "This is beyond anything we anticipated," Commander Chen said, watching as her own comm unit lifted from her belt to join the improvised constellation of technology. The serum was supposed to enhance human cognitive function, not turn someone into a living quantum computer. Dr. Morrison's scanner beeped urgently. "Her neural activity is still increasing. If this continues..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. They all knew the dangers of unchecked power growth. "I can feel everything," Naira whispered, her eyes now glowing with an inner light. "The thoughts of the crew, the dreams of those in cryosleep, the memories stored in the ship's computers, even the quantum entanglement of particles in the void outside." She paused, her antenna suddenly going rigid. "And something else, something vast." The ship's lights dimmed again, and this time they could all hear the drive core's hum changing pitch. On every deck, crew members felt a strange pressure in their minds, like the moment before a storm breaks. "Naira," Commander Chen said carefully, "what exactly are you sensing?" "We're not alone," Naira replied, her voice resonating at multiple frequencies simultaneously. "There are entities in the quantum realm. They've always been there, but no one could perceive them before. They're curious about us, about this breach in the barrier between their reality and ours. The floating equipment began to spin faster, and information screens throughout the medical bay, filled with cascading symbols, not just human or Centaurian characters, but entirely new forms of mathematical notation that seemed to shift and evolve as they watched. "This is getting out of hand," Dr. Morrison said, frantically adjusting controls on his medical console. "Her brain activity is approaching theoretical limits. We need to find a way to suppress these effects before." He was cut off by a sudden burst of energy from Naira's body. The quarantine field shimmered and distorted as waves of quantum probability rippled outward. Every piece of technology in the medical bay activated at once, displays showing impossible readings and diagnostic equipment reporting paradoxical results. Through their newly established mental connection, every human aboard could feel Naira's struggle to contain the growing power within her. The serum had unlocked something far beyond enhanced cognition. It had opened a door to understanding the universe in ways neither humans nor Centaurians had ever imagined possible. "Commander," Naira gasped, her form now almost transparent with energy, "you need to evacuate the medical bay. I can't control it much longer. The barriers between dimensions are becoming unstable." As if to emphasize her warning, small objects around the room began to phase in and out of existence, switching between multiple quantum states at random. The air itself seemed to ripple with possibilities, each moment branching into countless potential futures. Commander Chen hit the evacuation alarm, her training taking over despite the unprecedented nature of the crisis. "All personnel, clear the medical bay immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, all personnel evacuate immediately." As the medical staff rushed to comply, Dr. Morrison hesitated at his console. "We can't just leave her like this," he protested, even as reality itself seemed to warp around them. "Go," Naira commanded, her voice now carrying harmonics that made the very molecules of the air vibrate in sympathy. "I'll try to contain it, but I don't know how long I can hold back the quantum cascade." The last thing Commander Chen saw as the medical bay doors sealed behind them was Naira hovering above her bed, surrounded by a corona of pure probability, as the laws of physics themselves began to bend around her enhanced consciousness. The real question now wasn't just how to help their alien colleague, it was whether their universe was ready for the changes that were about to unfold. Crisis Protocol. The Horizon's Emergency Command Center buzzed with frantic activity as holographic displays showed the expanding sphere of quantum distortions around the medical bay. Commander Chen stood at the central console, surrounded by both human and Centaurian experts desperately working to understand what was happening to their ship. "The quantum fluctuations are growing exponentially," reported Dr. Kira Santos, the ship's quantum physics specialist. Her hands danced over the holographic controls as she analyzed the readings. "Whatever's happening in there, it's not just affecting our local spacetime, it's creating ripples in the quantum fabric itself." Through the reinforced observation windows, they could see the medical bay glowing with an otherworldly light. Geometric patterns of energy crawled across the walls, and occasionally objects would appear and disappear, caught in probability loops that defied conventional physics. The Centaurian science officer, Zexval, stepped forward, his metallic skin reflecting the emergency lights. "We've detected similar patterns in our most advanced quantum computing experiments, but never at this scale. The human serum has somehow merged with Dr. Vex's natural quantum sensitivity to create something entirely new." A sudden tremor ran through the ship, causing everyone to grab for support. The lights flickered, and for a moment, every screen showed impossible mathematical equations that seemed to solve themselves in real time. "Engineering reports the drive core is experiencing temporal echoes," called out Lieutenant Park from his station. "It's as if it's running in multiple time states simultaneously." Commander Chen's jaw tightened. They had less time than they thought. "Dr. Morrison, what's Naira's condition?" The chief medical officer looked up from his medical feeds, his face grave. "Her consciousness appears to be expanding beyond normal space-time constraints. The serum has enhanced her natural telepathic abilities to the point where she's not just reading minds. She's becoming a nexus point for quantum consciousness itself. On the main screen, they could see Naira floating in the center of the medical bay, her form now more energy than matter. Streams of quantum data flowed around her like a digital aurora, and her thoughts occasionally manifested as visible patterns in the air. The entities she mentioned, Zexfall said suddenly, his antenna vibrating with tension. They're similar to theoretical beings our quantum philosophers have postulated, consciousness that exists in the quantum realm, operating on principles we can barely comprehend. Another tremor, stronger this time. Warning klaxons blared as the ship's AI reported multiple system failures across all decks. "We need options," Commander Chen demanded, looking around the room. "How do we contain this before it tears the ship apart?" Dr. Santos stepped forward, her expression both excited and terrified. "What if we're thinking about this the wrong way? We're trying to suppress these effects, but maybe we should be trying to stabilize them instead." She pulled up a complex quantum diagram. "Look at these patterns. They're not random. The quantum fluctuations are trying to establish a new equilibrium state. If we could provide a framework for that stability." "The quantum containment chamber," Zexfall interrupted, his eyes widening. "The one we use for our most sensitive experiments. We could modify it to act as a resonance chamber, help Dr. Vex channel these energies instead of fighting them." Commander Chen looked between them. "How long would it take to set up?" 20 minutes, Dr. Santos said, already running calculations. "Maybe 15 if we redline the power systems." "You have 10, Chen replied. "Lieutenant Park, coordinate with engineering. I want every spare bit of power routed to the containment systems. Dr. Morrison, prepare a medical team for emergency intervention. If this works, Naira might need immediate assistance." As the crew sprang into action, Chen turned to Zexfall. "There's something else we need to consider. If this works, if we help Naira stabilize these abilities, we'll be dealing with someone who can literally reshape reality with a thought. Are your people prepared for that kind of advancement?" The Centaurian scientist was quiet for a moment, watching the quantum storms rage around his colleague. "Are any of us truly prepared for the next step in evolution, Commander? Whether we're ready or not, it's happening. The only question is whether we face it together or let our fears divide us." Their conversation was interrupted by a massive power surge. Every screen in the command center suddenly displayed the same message, written in both human and Centaurian script. "They are coming. The Bayeriers are here. We must be ready."
Message from Dr. Vex, Lieutenant Park reported unnecessarily. She's accessing every computer system simultaneously, even the ones that aren't networked. Commander Chen straightened her uniform, her decision made. "Then we better not keep her waiting. Begin quantum containment procedures. It's time to find out what's on the other side of this evolutionary threshold." As the crew rushed to implement their desperate plan, none of them could shake the feeling that they were standing on the brink of something momentous. The accident that had started this chain of events was about to change both their species forever, assuming they survived the next few hours. Breaking barriers. The quantum containment chamber hummed with power as the combined human and Centaurian engineering teams made their final adjustments. What had once been a pristine laboratory space now resembled something out of a techno-mystic's fever dream, with crystalline quantum processors interfaced with human technology in ways their designers had never intended. Quantum matrix stabilized at 87%, Dr. Santos reported, her fingers dancing across 3 different control interfaces simultaneously. "That's as good as we're going to get with the time we have." Through the chamber's observation window, Commander Chen watched as emergency teams carefully transferred Naira's now semi-corporeal form into the containment field. The alien scientist's body flickered between states of matter, leaving trails of quantum probability in her wake. "All medical teams standing by," Dr. Morrison's voice came through the comm. "Though I have to admit I'm not sure what we're going to be treating. Her biological readings stopped making sense hours ago." Zexfall stepped up beside Chen, his metallic skin reflecting the ethereal light emanating from the chamber.
In all our species' history of interaction with quantum phenomena, we've never seen anything like this. She's becoming something entirely new. The ship shuddered again, more violently this time. Warning klaxons blared as the AI reported multiple hull breaches forming and healing themselves spontaneously, reality itself becoming unstable around them. "We're out of time," Chen announced. "Begin the containment sequence." The engineering teams activated their systems, and a chamber filled with a complex web of quantum energy fields. Naira's form stabilized slightly within the containment field, her consciousness temporarily anchored by the advanced technology surrounding her. "Can you hear us, Dr. Vex?" Chen called out through the chamber's communication system.
Naira's response came not through the speakers, but directly into their minds, accompanied by cascading visions of mathematical beauty that threatened to overwhelm their consciousness. "I can hear everything, Commander. The thoughts of every being on this ship. The quantum whispers of reality itself. And them. They're so close now. The entities. They want to help us understand." "Understand what?" Chen asked, fighting to maintain her focus through the flood of cosmic awareness bleeding through their connection. The next step. The merger of consciousness and quantum reality. They'd been watching us, watching all sentient species, waiting for someone to break through the barriers of conventional existence. And now, her words were cut off by a sudden surge of energy that overloaded several of the quantum processors. Reality rippled around them as space-time itself began to buckle under the strain of whatever was trying to manifest through Naira's enhanced consciousness. Power fluctuations across all systems. Lieutenant Park shouted from his station. "The containment field is starting to fail. Reroute everything we've got," Chen ordered. "We cannot lose that field." But even as the words left her mouth, she knew it was too late. The barrier between dimensions had grown too thin, and what lay beyond was pushing through. The air itself seemed to crystallize with impossible geometries as the quantum entities Naira had sensed began to make themselves known. They appeared as shifting patterns of light and mathematics, their very presence rewriting the laws of physics around them. Through their mental connection with Naira, the crew could sense their vast intelligence, their ancient curiosity about organic life, and their desire to facilitate the next stage of cosmic evolution. "My God," Dr. Santos whispered, her scientific detachment crumbling in the face of what they were witnessing. "They're not just conscious beings, they're living quantum computers. They exist in a state of constant quantum computation." Zexval's antenna quivered with excitement and fear. This is what the Serum was accidentally preparing Dr. Vex for. Not just enhanced cognition, but a bridge between organic consciousness and quantum reality itself. The entities swirled around Naira's floating form, their patterns merging with her own quantum state. Through their shared consciousness, she broadcast to the entire crew. "Don't be afraid. This isn't an invasion. It's an invitation. They've been waiting for a species to reach this point naturally, to develop the capability to perceive and interact with their realm." The Serum just accelerated the process. Commander Chen stepped forward, her mind racing with the implications. What exactly are they offering? A partnership. Naira's thoughts resonated through their minds. A way to merge our understanding of organic life with their mastery of quantum reality. The potential to evolve beyond the limitations of traditional spacetime. But it has to be a choice. Both our species, working together, deciding to take this step. The quantum patterns intensified. And for a moment, every person aboard the Horizon glimpsed the possibilities. Civilizations existing across multiple dimensions simultaneously, consciousness freed from the constraints of linear time, technology that could reshape reality through pure thought. "The containment field is actually working," Dr. Santos reported with amazement. "Not to contain the energy, but to stabilize it, to create a permanent interface between our reality and theirs." Chen looked around at her crew, seeing the same mix of terror and wonder on every face, human and Centaurian alike. They stood at a threshold that neither species had ever imagined possible, forced to make a decision that would affect the future of both their civilizations. "Well," she said, a slight smile playing at her lips, "I guess this takes our joint scientific venture to a whole new level." Evolution's Edge. 3 months after the quantum breakthrough aboard the Horizon, the ship's conference room hosted an unprecedented gathering. Commander Chen sat at the head of the table, looking at faces both physical and ethereal, human officers, Centaurian scientists, and shimmering quantum interfaces that allowed communication with their new allies from beyond conventional spacetime. Naira Vex, now existing in a stable state between organic and quantum reality, hovered slightly above her chair. Her silver skin had become semi-transparent, showing complex patterns of energy flowing beneath the surface. When she spoke, her words carried both sound and direct mental impressions. "The integration of quantum consciousness technology has exceeded all projections," she reported, bringing up a holographic display showing the progress of what they now called the Convergence Project. Over 50 volunteers from both species have successfully undergone the enhanced procedure we developed from studying my transformation. Dr. Morrison nodded, adding his medical perspective. "With the quantum entity's guidance, we've refined the process to be completely safe and controllable. The modified serum now works in harmony with both human and Centaurian biology, allowing for controlled expansion of consciousness without the crisis I experienced with the original exposure." The quantum interfaces pulsed with approval, sending waves of mathematical confirmation through the ship's systems. In the 3 months since first contact, they had learned to communicate more efficiently with these ancient beings, translating their quantum algorithms into concepts organic minds could grasp. "The real breakthrough," Dr. Santos interjected, barely containing her excitement, "is in the practical applications. The quantum-organic interface has revolutionized our understanding of physics. We're developing technology that would have taken centuries to discover on our own." Commander Chen smiled, remembering the panic and uncertainty of those first hours after Naira's transformation. What had seemed like a potential disaster had become the greatest advancement in the history of both their species. "The Quantum Concordat is particularly interested in our progress," Zexval noted, referring to the newly formed governing body that managed relations between organic and quantum species. "They believe this cooperative model could be applied to other civilizations reaching similar technological thresholds. Assuming they want to take that step," Chen added, ever mindful of the responsibility they carried. "We're being careful not to pressure anyone. This kind of evolution has to be a choice." Naira's form shifted, creating ripples in the quantum field around her. "The entities have shown us something remarkable. That consciousness itself is the key to unlocking the universe's deeper nature. But they also respect that not everyone will choose to expand their awareness in this way." The ship's AI, now significantly evolved thanks to quantum integration, manifested a holographic avatar at the table. "We're seeing fascinating developments in hybrid technologies, systems that can be operated by both traditional and quantum-enhanced users, bridging the gap between different states of existence." Lieutenant Park pulled up his own display, showing the modifications they'd made to the Horizon systems. "We've essentially created a whole new class of starship, one that exists partially in quantum space, allowing for types of travel and exploration we never imagined possible. And we've only scratched the surface," Naira added, her enthusiasm causing small quantum fluctuations in the room's reality. "The entities have hinted at entire dimensions of existence we haven't even begun to explore. Each step we take reveals new mysteries, new possibilities." Commander Chen stood, walking to the observation window. The space outside looked different now to her enhanced perception, not just empty void, but a complex web of quantum possibilities and interconnected realities. The accident that had started this journey had led them to a future neither humans nor Centaurians could have imagined on their own. "When our species first met," she said thoughtfully, "we thought we were just sharing technology and knowledge. We never imagined we'd end up sharing evolution itself." Naira moved to join her quantum-enhanced form casting prismatic patterns on the window. "That's the beauty of it, isn't it? We didn't just break down the barriers between our species. We broke down the barriers between states of existence itself, and we did it together. The quantum interfaces pulsed with what they had learned to recognize as amusement. These ancient beings had watched countless civilizations rise and fall, waiting for ones with the potential to join them in their quantum reality. In humans and Centaurians working together, they had found not one but two species ready to take that leap. The next group of volunteers begins their transformation process tomorrow, Dr. Morrison reported. And we've received word that both our governments have approved the establishment of the first quantum integration center on neutral space. Chen turned back to the assembled group, organic and quantum alike. Then I guess we better get back to work. We've got a lot of universe left to explore, and now we've got whole new ways to see it. As the meeting adjourned, Chen couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. What had started as a simple scientific collaboration had evolved into something that transcended the very nature of existence itself. And somehow, that felt exactly right. Human ingenuity and Centaurian wisdom, combined with quantum consciousness, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. The stars outside seemed to twinkle with new meaning, as if acknowledging that the universe itself had changed. Not with a bang or a crisis, but with the quiet revolution of minds opening to new possibilities, of species learning to see beyond their limitations, and of consciousness itself evolving to embrace a reality far vaster than anyone had imagined. The accident that had started it all now seemed less like chance and more like destiny. The moment when two species reached out to understand each other and ended up grasping the very fabric of reality itself.